atra swarupam Shri Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivanamoho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Sri Gurum Tam Natosmi He Guru Jnanadadina Bandho Swanandadata Karunaika Sindho Vrindavanasi Nahitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dinabandho Karunaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandamudhe Lakshaparadhe Bahupapakadhe Tatpada Padme Sumatischa Krishne Yadyapi Amara Guru Chaitanya Das Tatapi Janiyami Tanhara Prakasha Guru Krishna Rupa Hoy Shastrera Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Korena Bhakta Gane Siksha Guru Ke Tajani Krishnera Swarupa Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha Hey Dui Rupa Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Brahma Yushapi Kritam Riddhamura Smaranta Yontar Bahistanu Ashubhan Vidhunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Yanakti. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow to my spiritual master, by whose profuse mercy I have received the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the son of Sachi, Lord Chaitanya, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the abode of Vrindavan, Radha Kund, Govardhana Hill, and the desire for service to Sri Radhika and Madhava. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare for fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Guru Dev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him as a planetary manifestation of the Lord. Every living entity is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. The spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. The relationship of a disciple with the spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. Spiritual masters always represent themselves as the humblest servitors of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon the spiritual master as the manifested representation of Godhead. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Srila Govinda Dev Vigraha. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science cannot fully express their indebtedness to you if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Super Soul. to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desire in our darkened eyes and fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of the lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet.
Shri Guru Charana Padda Kevala Bhakati Sadda. Shri Guru Charana Padda Shri Guru Charana Padda Kevala Bhakati Sadda. Shri Guru Charana Padda Kevala Bhakati Sadda. Bandomvi Shavdhan Mate Bandomui Shavdhan Mate Jahar Prashade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Jahar Prashade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hai Jaha Hoite Krishna Prapti Hai Jaha Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Kadiya Aika Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Kadiya Aika Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Kadiya Aika Arnakadi Hamane आशा आरनक दिह मने आशा श्री गुरु चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति उत्तम गति जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चाकुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ हाथे अविद्या विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहाँ चरिता वेद गाय जहाँ चरिता श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोकना लोकेर जीवाना लोकना लोकेर जीवाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया दे हमारे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु करो दया दे हमारे पद छाया Bejasko tribuvana Bejasko tribuvana Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Charine Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribhajak Acharya Ashtottara Sattva Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribhajak Acharya Ashtottara Sattva Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mayi ki jai. Jamuna Mayi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shomaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Hari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Natiravanachari Jamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Matsamo Nasti Papatma Naparadi Trikashchana Parihare Pilajjame Kimbruve Purushottama. Page Yivatinam Yadanuni 178 Yunam 173 Yunam Cha Yuvatau Yata Mano Biramate Tadvan Maname Ramatantvayi Bhumaus Kalita Paranam Bhumiriva Valambanam Tvayijata Parananam Tameva Sharanam Prabho Govinda Balave Radhe Prarte Tvam Hamsada Todhyamiti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvayasaha Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrittavahani Kripayani Japadabja Dasyamayam Pradiyatam Hantayam Adrabala Haridasavaryo Yadrama Krishna Charadash Parasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Sahogo Goneo Toyor Yes Paniya Suyavasakandana Kandamulai Vande Nanda Vrajashri Nam Parinam Abhikshna Shayasam Harigato Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagvatam, 10th canto, and the chapter is number 1. And today's verse that I would like to read is just now coming. It's verses number 5 through 7. And because it's a 10, 1, 5 through 7, it's a very long verse. And therefore I'm going to read the translation and the purport. Taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev resembled great fish that could very easily have swallowed them. Who's speaking? Maharaj Parikshit, right? Say yes. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoofprint of a calf. Because my mother surrendered unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Lord, Sudarshan Chakra in hand, entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus and Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashvatthama. And who's it referring to? Uttara. Lord Sri Krishna appearing within and outside of all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the forms of eternal time, that is, as Paramatma and as Virat Rupa, gave liberation to everyone, either as cruel death or as life. Kindly enlighten me by describing his transcendental characteristics. Srila Prabhupada's purport, as stated in Srimad Bhagvatam 10.14.58, Samashitaye padapallavaplavam mahatpadam punya yasho marare Bhavam Buddhir Vatsa Padam Param Padam 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 Yad Vipadam Natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, or the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. His goal is Param Padam, or Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. One who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna is immediately protected by the Lord. As the Lord promises in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Ahang tvam sarvapapebhyo mukshisha mimasuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. By taking shelter of Lord Krishna, one comes under the safest protection. Thus, when the Pandavas took shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, all of them were on the safe side of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Parikshit Maharaj therefore felt obliged to think of Krishna in the last days of his life. This is the ideal result of Krishna consciousness, ante narayana smriti. If at the time of death one can remember Krishna, one's life is successful. Parikshit Maharaj therefore, because of his many obligations to Krishna, intelligently decided to think of Krishna constantly during the last days of his life. Krishna had saved the Pandavas, Maharaj Parikshit's grandfathers, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna had saved Maharaj Parikshit himself when he was attacked by the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. Krishna acted as the friend and worshipable deity of the Pandava family. Moreover, apart from Lord Krishna's personal contact with the Pandavas, Krishna is the super soul of all living entities. And he gives everyone liberation, even if one is not a pure devotee. Kamsa, for example, was not at all a devotee, yet Krishna, after killing him, gave him salvation. Krishna consciousness is beneficial to everyone, whether one is a pure devotee or a non-devotee. This is the glory of Krishna consciousness. Considering this, who will not take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna? Krishna is described in this verse as Maya Manushya, because he descends exactly like a human being. He is not obliged to come here like karmis or ordinary living beings. Rather, he appears by his own internal energy. Swayam sabhavam yatmamaya ya, just to show favor to the fallen conditioned souls. Krishna is always situated in his original position as Satchidananda Vigraha, and anyone who renders service to him is also situated in his original spiritual identity. Swarupena vyavastitihi. This is the highest perfection of human life. And this first chapter of the 10th canto is the description of how Krishna, at long last, is appearing personally here in the Srimad Bhagvatam. How he appears personally on this planet. And there is a build-up before his appearance of demoniac forces. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita describes how they are divine and demoniac. People are of divine and demoniac natures. And when there's an imbalance, Krishna comes to rebalance so that there's a harmonious situation in the universe, in the world, so that the devotees can take advantage of the human form of life and make advancement. Therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says, Pranaya sadhanam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And he's coming on schedule to uplift the devotees and to cut down the unnecessary elements in the world. So we find in this first chapter that Bhumi, earth personified, is feeling a great burden. There's a section in the later cantos of the Bhagavatam, it's either 11 or 12, the Bhumi Gita, where she describes does Bhumi, the audacity of kings. And this is one of the aspects of the Bhagavatam leading up to Krishna's appearance, is the degradation of the kingly caste. The degradation of the population comes by worse and worse leadership. And as Kali Yuga approaches, a Sanskrita Kriyahina, we find that the kingly class has no good samskars, and they're without any reformatory processes. They're simply materialistic. And it leads to deprivation of all good qualities for people in general, and they suffer. So Bhumi in the 11th canto describes how, although people are born in this world, even if they have long-ish durations of life, from her perspective, I mean, really, if you think of geological time, compared to the lifetime of any living entity, it's a flash. Yet, when they appear, they are bent on conquering the earth, she says. And in doing so, they spill blood. They're so eager to own territory and name it after themselves and control it. We know through history of all the different conquerors who've reached out, said, this land is mine, that's my land also. In fact, as a kid, they taught us this song in America, this land is my land, this land is your land. It turns out it wasn't ours at all. Bhaktaram Yagatapasam Sarvalokameshwaram belongs to Krishna. But there's a way in which when people get power, there's Michel's iron laws of oligarchy, which talk about the ways in which human beings who are weak of heart become more and more attached to controlling, and they try to protect their position. So Bhumi sees that all these people fight against each other, they kill one another, they spill blood, they kill millions of people. She said, but from my perspective, they're only here for a few minutes. And she said, even when they conquer the land, then they're not satisfied. They say, we want the water too. These oceans are ours also. She said, how can you own the land or the water? They don't belong to you, they belong to Krishna. And the Bhagavatam describes how there was a buildup of these demoniac elements, and they were, many of them, taking refuge here on the earthly planet. And so there's a great disturbance at that time. So Bhumi went to her temple president, or GBC Brahma, and mentioned that I'm feeling overburdened. And Brahma then escalated it by getting together with the Devas, other rulers of the universe, and they gathered at the Ocean of Milk while we were at the ocean in Puri the other day. Akurnath Prabhu remembered, as many of us were making, sharing reflections of the moment, how Bhumi, the demigods, had all gone to the Milk Ocean to propitiate Krishna and ask for his help. And he, Akurnath, was thinking of the ways in which there's some special quality to the shore of the ocean. Seems to be great possibility, calling out to the horizon for help, knowing that Krishna is there. And so did the demigods do this at the Milk Ocean. In fact, they had Brahma as their leader, and together they chanted one of the first prayers of the Vedas from the Rig Veda, the Purush Sukta. And after singing the Purush Sukta, purposefully begging for Krishna's assistance and wishing him to descend to the world, he transmitted a message to the heart of Brahma. And Brahma subsequently transmitted transmitted that message to all the demigods. Part of that message was that he will soon appear in the world. And furthermore, he said, all of you demigods and demigoddesses and all of your families should similarly appear on the earth planet to assist me, a principle that Prabhupada notes in the Krishna book as tat priyartam, that Krishna doesn't come alone, he comes with his followers to assist him. And they, the demigods, their wives, and other controllers in the universe would appear first to set the stage for Krishna. And in Queen Kunti's prayer, she mentioned, Maya Javani Kachanan Agnad Hoksajan Avyayam Nalakshya Se Mudha Drisha Nato Natya Royata. Kunti's praying to Krishna and said, Oh Krishna, seems as if you're an actor on a stage. You set a stage and you come disguised in many different ways and you perform your Leela. And we've heard also by now, those who are reading the Bhagvatam up to the 10th canto where we're just reading from today, that by hearing of Krishna's play here in the material world, one becomes liberated just by hearing. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyakva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. When one becomes acquainted with Krishna's nature and how when he appears in the world it's not ordinary, he's not forced to come to the world as an ordinary living being is compelled by material nature to enter a particular womb based on karma. Daiva netrina. It's like if you get arrested in the parking lot of a Walmart. Can't think of anything worse than that. And you have handcuffs and they push you in the car. Once you're in there, you're going where they're going. And similarly, those who are arrested by the material nature are handcuffed. When they leave this body, they're helplessly pushed into a situation that is decided for them. And it's beyond their free will at that point. They have to take birth in a certain body. But Krishna's not like that. Krishna is eternally free because he's the controller of all energies, the source of all energies. And when he appears in the world, he does so by his own sweet will, Prabhupada's phraseology. What to speak of his activities? The conditioned soul acts according to his or her swabhava, which means nature acquired from previous associations. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sarasad yoni janmasu. It's the way in which, because of one's association with the material nature, one has a predisposition to various sense objects in this world. What to speak of? Material nature gives one a customized set of senses. Shariram yaravapnoti yachtyap yukramatishvara grihit vaitani samyati vayorgandamiva bhashayat shotram chakshu sparsharam cha rasanam granam evacha adishtayam manaschayam vishayan upasevate, which means that whatever you remember when you leave this body, whatever your primary interest is in life, material nature fully accommodates you. And Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutras says that the body that you have now is the result of the filling in of your desires from your last life. And there's an example he gives about if you leave footprints in wet sand and you look back, you see the footprints, those are yours. And then if you were to fill those in with plaster of Paris, then you'd get a perfect mold of your foot. So when we leave the present body, there's a way in which our aggregate of desires makes a profile. We can understand this handily because of AI. And we know that everything we're doing and choosing online is being aggregated. And then there's a presentation given to us by the algorithm of the AI that says, no, you like this. We know you like this because you looked at that picture a millisecond longer than this one. And so you prefer this color over that color and blah, blah, blah. And material nature is AI based on Krishna's design and intelligence. Many of the technologies are just mimicking what's already going on in nature. And Krishna's not like that. He comes of his own accord. An example Prabhupada gives is that when a governor comes in to visit a prison, other prisoners may look at him or her and say, oh, you're just like us. But there's a big difference. And I've felt that difference myself because I went to prison to visit someone in Arizona. And when the door closed, it was a big door, I was reminding the guards that, I walked in here on my own free will, right? You remember? There was a visceral sense when the door closed that living entities don't like to lose their free will. I was a little nervous being in there. And those who are in the material world are subjected to the laws of nature, but Krishna's not. Janma karma tame divyam. His birth in the world is by his free choice. And he's not restricted, or he's not following an algorithm from material nature, which is predisposing him to certain types of sense objects. Some people, they're liberals, some people are conservatives, some people like folk music, other people like, I won't mention all different kinds of music because it's very triggering, but it's there. And I know when I hear certain kinds of music, I'm not attracted to it, and other kinds I identify with because maybe my father played it when I was a kid. And all these are conditions of the mind. But Krishna doesn't have those. He's completely transcendental. So the process of bhakti is included in this verse, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata, that as we discussed in Jagannath Puri quite a bit, the idea of tattva. Tattva means understanding the difference between one category and another and not making a mistake in the categories. So we're in a category, we're called Jiva Tattva or Tatastha. And Krishna's in another category. What's that category called? That Tattva? Vishnu Tattva. And then there's a third Tattva called Maya Tattva, the material nature. And Lord Chaitanya had brought up these categories when he was teaching Sanatana Goswami. And he quoted from the Vishnu Purana, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetra Gyakya Tatapara Avidya Karma Sangyanya Tritiya Shakti Rishite. These are various categories, and you should get them right. You should understand what's what. If you think, oh, I'm God and I'm free, you made a category mistake because you're not God and you're not free to do whatever you want until you're liberated. And then there's a category mistake if you think you're your body. That's a big category mistake because you're not your body. You're a spiritual being inhabiting a body. You're a kshetragya, which means you can be aware of your body, but you can't be your body because they're two different energies. So don't make category mistakes like that. So tattva diham punarjanma naiti. Krishna says, if you get all these things right and you understand your relationship with me, tattva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna, then you also become free. So this is the benefit of hearing the Srimad Bhagvatam and hearing about Krishna's appearance in the world. So after the demigods prayed to Krishna, along with Brahma, and received their instructions, and Krishna made his advent dramatically. There's the way in which a scene opens in the beginning of the Bhagavatam of Vasudeva and Devaki. And it's a happy occasion, apparently, coming home from their wedding. And on the chariot, they have the assistance of Kamsa, who's the sister of Devaki, the brother of Devaki. And he's driving the chariot out of a sense of love for his sister, and which he has really none, as we'll find out. Because when there's a prophecy that comes from an Akashvani, which is used in this context of Leela, that there's a voice, unembodied voice from the sky, and it proclaims out loud, so Kamsa can hear it, everyone else can hear it, that you're a fool, Kamsa, because the eighth son of your sister is going to kill you. And when Kamsa hears that, he drops the reins, grabs the hair of his sister. Imagine, she's just coming from being married, and pulls his sword. And he thinks, I'll annihilate my sister, because that way I'll short circuit the divine plan that has been announced through the Akashvani. And at this point, Vasudeva pleads with Kamsa that this is not a great idea. It's your sister. Kamsa didn't care. He pleaded on the basis of you're going to get a bad reaction, but those in the most passionate and ignorance have a hard time with causality. They just know, I want what I want now. And they don't care so much for results in the future, what might happen. And finally, Vasudeva pleaded that on the basis of your reputation, which had slight effect on Kamsa, but he was so surrounded by demoniac advisors that he had a lot of support for his demoniac activities. But finally, Vasudeva had this mystic potency. This is something else interesting in the Yoga Sutras. There's a whole chapter on mystic powers. There's a similar chapter in the Bhagvatam, in the Uddhava Gita, Krishna speaking to Uddhava about how you get mystic powers and what they are. And one of them is that whatever you say, everyone believes. And you get that by being avowedly truthful. You never shade the truth, you always tell the truth. And your voice, your words have deep potency. So Vasudeva had that power. He always told the truth. And he told Kamsa that allow her to have children, I'll hand him over to you. You can decide at that time. Besides the eighth son, not the first one, and you can be in control of the situation. And Kamsa trusted him. So he said, okay. And he let them go back to their home. What a wedding conclusion, a conclusion to a wedding. And this was an atmosphere that pervaded Mathura at the time, because Kamsa had imprisoned his own father. He had garnered strength from making alliances with other kings, even people who were competitors and who were against Kamsa. Kamsa had this demoniac power, and power corrupts people. When they get in power, not only do they feel invincible, but then other people around them, they don't want to lose their power. That's a problem. And therefore, demoniac people who are attached to power, they're able to pull in weaker people who then support them because they have a vested interest and they're afraid to lose it, so they keep their power. That repeats itself again and again in the material world. The cheaters and the cheated. And so Kamsa had this alliance with many kings, and the ones that didn't align with him he killed or put in prison. So there was a sense of tyranny. And meanwhile, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth one after another to sons, and true to his word, Vasudeva handed over each one of the children to Kamsa. At first he said, oh, okay, it's no big deal. You can take them back. But then his associates, his so-called counselors, ministers said, and what to speak of Narada, was also giving some impetus for Kamsa to step up his carnage, because Narada's idea was that the faster this goes, the sooner Krishna will appear. So he was egging Kamsa that any of the children could actually, you can't be too careful. And what to speak of his ministers, who had their other ideas that, like, let's be really sure that they're all killed. So he started killing the children one after another. And there's a backstory to the children. One may think, oh, this is a pretty bloody drama going on here. And the whole material world appears to be a pretty bloody drama. But there is a purpose behind it. Karmana daivanetrena jantur dehopapate striya pravishta udaram pumsoreta kanashraya. Kapila Dev says, there's an oversight to the movement of every living being, which womb you end up in, how you're born into a particular place. And high-minded people, through guidance of Shastra, can come to understand that everything has a purpose. The whole universe has a purpose. It's meant for me, ultimately, to come to my highest potential as an eternal servant of Krishna. And devotees even think that whatever happens to them is the mercy of Krishna. And that's true for everyone. Even Maya is there purposefully to remind living entities that this isn't their home, and to urge them along to take shelter of Krishna. Some take longer than others to come to that conclusion. Bahunam jamanamante gyanavamam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. The sons of Devaki were called the Shadgarbha Asuras. They had offended in their last life. They had made offense and been cursed to take birth in such a way that they would be killed one after another, and then they would be free from the curse. And the important aspect, besides the convoluted nature of how they were cursed and how they appeared, which I'm going to skip over, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Prabhupada gives the commentary following Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation that these Sadgarbha Asuras, Sad means 6, Shad, Garbha, womb, Asuras, they were born into Devaki's womb because of a curse, but they're representative of anarthas, unwanted habits and sentiments that are deeply rooted within the heart of someone who's been hanging around the material world since time immemorial. And those must be overcome before one can invite Krishna into one's life. And they represent Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mada, Moha, and Matsarya. These dastardly 6, which are the enemies of the soul. And Devaki was afraid of Kamsa for good reason. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that we, as practitioners of bhakti, should be similarly afraid of material nature. If we think that I'm okay, which a lot of people say, we hear when we go to distribute books. If you attempt to show somebody, the hand comes out and say, no, I'm okay. But there's a way in which we're not really okay, because we're in the grips of material nature, and we need to take shelter of Krishna. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when you have a sense of fear of the material nature, as Devaki did, have fear for Kamsa and the protection of her children. And if one has that, then that fear of material nature is an inspiration to become more dedicated to one's practice of bhakti. And he says that combination of fear and one's earnestness in practicing bhakti will similarly kill these 6 unwanted elements within the heart. And after the 6, there was an apparent miscarriage because Lord Balaram appeared in the womb of Devaki, but then he's called Sankarshan because he was attracted to the womb of Rohini, same husband, Vasudeva. And it appeared that she, Devaki, had had a miscarriage. So how this must have concerned Kamsa, because he was really keeping count. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She has a miscarriage. Do you count that or not? And this is the way of material life, because people are calculating how to keep their wealth or plan everything in order, and in order to be happy in this world. But there's always a glitch. And whatever we think is going to protect us, whatever plan we have, Shukadeva has already said earlier in the Bhagavatam, Deha patra kalatradeshu atmasainisa satsapi tesham pramato nidhanam pashanapina pashyati. Whatever ideas you have, basically, he says, for your protection and the plan to make it through this material world unscathed, they're not going to work out. And that's the theme of this verse today. That entering into Kurukshetra, the great warriors, Arjuna, Pandavas, they were up against insurmountable odds, much bigger army, really dangerous situation. And because they took shelter of Krishna, they were okay. They were protected. And Prabhupada urges in the purport, something that Krishna urges, is sarvadharman parityaja. Just give up all the ideas for getting your ducks in a row and surrender to me. And ducks don't stay in a row here in this world. And so after the miscarriage, he wasn't sure about the count. And then the 8th pregnancy came, and Krishna appeared in the prison, but he appeared with 4 arms. And Vasudeva and Devaki prayed to him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But counterintuitively, Devaki said, please take the form of a child, because I'm afraid Kamsa will notice that you're here as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's interesting because Kamsa was already killing babies. So she had this angst about protecting Krishna. And Krishna works through his potency. So by his internal potency called Yogamaya, he was able to, he easily put the guards to sleep. The shackles fell off from Vasudeva. And he took the baby. Krishna did take the form of a small baby in his arms, and he carried the baby across Jamuna. There was a storm that night, and it was treacherous. And he went to the home of Nanda Yashoda. They were also celebrating the fact that Yashoda had given birth. Now here's a mysterious aspect of Krishna's appearance, because according to our acharyas, Yashoda gave birth to twins. And one of them was a boy, Krishna, and the other was a girl, who was Yogamaya. And when Vasudeva came to the house on the instruction of Krishna, who he was carrying, the baby he was carrying, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in one of his aspects, merged into the body of baby Krishna. Because Krishna is the source of all avatars. Ete shamcha kala pumsam, Krishna stu bhagavan swayam. Indrari vyakulam lokam, radayanti yuge yuge, a stone of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. All other incarnations come from Krishna. And then he picked up the girl and he brought her back to the prison, put back to shackles, and the next morning Kamsa found a girl was born. And that was confusing also. And so she pleaded for her life, although she didn't have to because she was all powerful, as a Shakti of the Lord. But Kamsa tried to kill her too. She flew up in the air and chastised Kamsa that you're a fool, and already the child you're after is somewhere else. Meanwhile, when Yashoda awoke, there was a sense of, okay, we have a baby boy. And she hadn't remembered the child labor and so forth, but there was a celebration going on there in the home of Nanda and Yashoda. And 100 days later, which is the astrological time in which one's supposed to do a name-giving ceremony, Gargamuni came to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj worshipped him as he was a great soul. It's mentioned in the Bhagvatam, these great souls come to a home just to purify one's house. And he said, and it was Gargamuni, that we shouldn't have this out in the open because then Kamsa will figure out that there's a name-giving ceremony going on. He'll trace it back to the time, and then he'll come here looking for Krishna. So they went to the cowshed. And there in the cowshed, Gargamuni said, as you could see from his astrological finding, besides he was a great devotee, he hinted that this child is going to be as good as Narayan. And also he said, protect him. He's really, really a special child. And he hinted at his godhood, asanvarnantrayo yasya grinati nuyugamtanum shuklo raktistata pita idanim krishnatam yata gataha. There's a way in which he said, this child comes in different colors in different yugas, and so forth. And then he gave them, it was a name-giving ceremony. And of course, Balaram was there also for the name-giving, and he gave the names to Krishna, Balaram. And then their childhood pastimes began there. And I'm going to stop there and see if there's any reflections or questions, because our time is almost out. Yes.
Thank you. With the part where Vasudeva takes Krishna to Gokul to put him next to Yashoda. Can you share some details on how was he inspired to take Krishna to Gokul? Was there anything?
Krishna said, take me there to the home of Nanda and Yashoda. I know that because I was in the play once. Yeah. Oh yes, Vishnu Gadaprabhu.
You mentioned how after the demigods chanted the Purusha Sukta, there was the message that they should all take birth along with their wives, especially in the Yadu dynasty. So then we know, like Yamaraj, he left his post. He had to get a replacement for taking birth as Vidura. But did the other demigods come personally, or did they have some other arrangement? You follow?
Yeah. There's a little description of the ways in which many of the demigods expanded themselves in partial forms to manifest in the pastimes of Krishna. Because when Krishna, after killing Dantavakra and enters back into Vrindavan, then those plenary portions of the demigods go back to their posts. And they oftentimes enter into the eternal parshads, the eternal associates of Krishna, and they're enacting their role in concert with them. So there's kind of a sharing of the pastime with the demigods, who then go back to their original posts afterwards.
Is there a reason that Yamaraj didn't do that?
I don't know. Project, research project. You brought that up before, right? When we were talking about it. So it's something we can look into. But I'd like to hear more about that. Anything else? Yes. Prem Dam.
I had a question about the tattvas, Maharaj. You mentioned that there are three tattvas, Vishnu tattva, Jiva, and then Shakti. I've heard Prabhupada also talk about other tattvas, Guru tattva and Shiva tattva. My question was, are these absolute and fixed, or are they just contextual distinctions to help us understand the relationship of different personalities with Krishna?
Tat means something that's categorically fixed, that you can point to and say, that's what that means, that's what that is, that's what that category is. And the verse I quoted from the Vishnu Purana, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, is a summarization of the three main categories: the internal energy, external energy, and the jiva. And that's a useful generalization to understand the relationship we have with the Supreme, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving that summarization of those three. But as you mentioned, there are other tattvas as well. And they are, the idea behind tat, it's a demonstrative pronoun. It's cognate with the word that. You just add an H, tat becomes that. And you say, what is it? That. What is that? It's something, definitely something. It's a musical instrument. I can point to it and say it's that. And in the Gita, Krishna says, Nasato vidite bhavo, na bhavo vidite sata uvarayore pritushton tastvanios tattvadarshibhi, that those are seers of tattva, who understand the categories properly and how to interact with them correctly. They identify that the material world is constantly changing, so that's a different kind of energy than the soul, and different from the internal energy, or Vishnu tattva. And so, yes, they're eternal categories and definite categories, because that's why they're called tat, because you can identify them. Although some categories are require more explanation. For instance, Guru tattva and Shiva tattva are known within the Gaudiya circle to require more explanation and understanding. Who is next? 1, 2, 3.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I really like how you explain that the 6 children which were killed are sort of representatives of Kshatripus, the Kam, Krodh, Madh, Moha, Matsar. I was just curious, Lord Balram being the 7th child, and he is also like so eager to offer service to Lord Krishna, right? So I was just curious, is there any connection in that regard, like between like Kshatripus getting,
There is, and it's alluded to in the fact that he appeared after the Sadgarbha Asuras, because Balaram is the origin of Guru Tattva. And there's a way in which he clears the field so that Krishna can appear. And analogously, there's a way in which when we meet a Vaishnav who can guide us, the Vaishnav Guru, either Shiksha, Diksha, or Vartmana Pradakshika, clears the field so that we can accept Krishna in our hearts. Succinct answer because we're out of time. There was two more. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to go quick. Yeah. Lee.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for this wonderful class. The pastime is so popular, but not only is it transcendental, each time something new is revealed in the pastime. You had mentioned that Yashoda gave birth to twins, Krishna and Yogamaya. And the Krishna from one Krishna merged into the other. That's what the acharyas said. Is there any more detail as to what was the reason for that nuance?
Well, one reason is that Vasudeva and Devaki have a different relationship with Krishna than Yashoda, Nanda and Yashoda. It's a different mood there. And the way Krishna manifests himself, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapadyante, tamstataiva bhajamyaham, manavartante, manusha partha sarvasha. That according to the mood of the devotee, Krishna appears in order to reciprocate. And Nanda and Yashoda have a different relationship with Krishna than Vasudeva and Devaki, where they're more prone to appreciate his opulence. That is Vasudeva and Devaki. Okay, you've been waiting for a half hour. Short question, I'll give you a short answer. I hope. Krishna willing.
Maharaj, when devotees suffer, it is mentioned that Krishna actually is like a surgeon. He is actually removing the last vestiges of their desires and things like that and purifying them. I'm just thinking, what can be the explanation for the sufferings of Devaki and Vasudeva? They are pure devotees, and I think they went through very traumatic times, maybe 8 years in jail, and after once Krishna appears, he's telling them, okay, I'll take me there, I'm not going to kill Kamsa now, another 11 years, so close to 20 years they're in jail. So this doesn't seem to be a very great idea, great way of protecting the devotees, frankly. So if you can tell, like, what is it, why they are suffering so much, and how we should, what's the learning for us?
They had performed austerities to have Krishna appear as their son. Their austerities were more intense than practically their experience in this pastime. And there are various reasons that are given how devotees undergo suffering, those in the pastimes. Partly because Krishna shows the resolve of his devotees in these extreme circumstances. Narada Muni muses to the Pandavas in a famous verse about Krishna hangs out with you guys. He comes to your house. He's practically part of your family. What's up with that? Why did you go through so many troubles and trials and tribulations? And this is a great mystery to many, but Queen Kunti, as you know well, gives this iconic perspective where she says, Vipada santata shashvat tatra tata jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsat apunar bhavanarshanam. Krishna, when we go through these difficulties, it makes our devotion more intense. Do you feel more dependent on Krishna when you're in a dangerous situation or when your life is easy street? Dangerous. So these dangerous conditions create a drama where the devotees take infinitely more shelter of Krishna and feel more intensely the need to surrender to him. Okay, there was one last one. We're going to end. Yes, one. And then we can talk more when we get to Brahmandagat. Because I opened this as a precursor. We're going to a very special place today of Krishna's pastimes of Brahmandagat. I thought this would be a really nice preface to it. So that's what it is. And then we'll have Krishna willing, minus gongs and attack of packs of monkeys or huge other yatras coming in. We may have more time for discussion later. So if you have more questions, this will be the last. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I want to know why the mother of the Lord, Devaki, had to carry 6 asuras in her womb.
Well, that was an arrangement to purify those 6 who had been cursed to come in. And it was also emblematic, it became emblematic of the process that one goes through in order to become purified. And I mentioned the other day something I had read from the commentary Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote for the 6th canto. No, I read a commentary, it had to do with Bharat Maharaj, different one, and how he had gone through different births. And one of our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, had said that devotee, somebody may say, well, he was doing so well, and why did he have to go through all this? And he said, devotees desire their ultimate purification, therefore they may go through different lives in order to come to the perfection. And those who are fully determined to go back to Godhead, are not dissuaded by these troubles. They're actually a springboard through which they can give up their last vestiges of attachment to the material world. Unless there was such adversity, how would one prove oneself, even to oneself, what to speak of to Krishna? And in the case of Bharat Maharaj, who fell in love with a deer, and in his next life as a deer, he was kicking himself. Little deer kicking himself. Like, why did I do that? And then as Jad Bharat, he's one of our heroes, because when you see Jad Bharat, he's done with it all. He's Jada to the material world. That's it. No mas. I'm out completely. There's not even a molecule of like, maybe I'll look around a little bit. Is that a deer? No deer. He didn't want any kind of involvement. His father was a dutiful Brahmin and taught him, here's you first wash your hands and then you say your Gayatri, and he'd do everything opposite, just so people would just leave me alone. I got nothing to do with this world. Shukadev Goswami was similar. Was it Yam Pravachantam Anupetam Apetakritam? He didn't quit school. He just never went to. He quit the whole material world. He came out of the womb and then gone. That's it. And so to come to that position, Krishna makes all these arrangements, and it's also, as I had used the word before, emblematic, and it shows everyone else the path. What does a serious devotee look like? And if there wasn't that extreme circumstance, how would you know that somebody could be tested that much as compared to the crucible where you purify gold by fire and all the impurities come out? So if we're willing to do that, then actually there's no suffering. Because when we're in that and we take it as Krishna's mercy and we take shelter of Krishna, we're feeling Krishna's protection in that. So today we'll continue the conversation when we get to Brahmandagat, which is one of the most beautiful places in all of Vrindavan, a place where Krishna performed the pastime of eating dirt. And dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, if you so desire, please instill in our hearts a desire to go back home, back to Godhead, and to therefore endure any hardship in this world for the sake of advancing in devotional service. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer, in whole or in part. Please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now Shraddha Devi Dasi will tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. How are you doing today?
Haribol!
How was the temple visit last night and
Haribol!
last morning? Very nice, very nice. So today is the last day of our yatra, and we have a visit to Brahman Ghat, as Maharaj said, as well as a visit to Raman Reti. So Maharaj, we are thinking we'll go first to Raman Reti and then Brahman Ghat. So that's the order in which we proceed. And I'll be brief because we want to reach there in time so that we beat the gong, gong, gong and do something substantial. So we have a small announcement back on that, Shakti. Yeah.
Hare Krishna devotees, I'm sorry, I'm just now remembering to make this announcement. If Mahaprasad can be found back on the, by where the water jugs are, on a tin.
Haribol!
Haribol. So it's 8:40 now. I'm just trying to do a time check, 8:40. And I was hoping that we will depart here from at 9:15 and board the buses so that we can be out of here at 9:30. Does that seem a doable thing? Okay, then I'll take it. And I'd also like to thank Vishnu Gadar Prabhu for leading the Aartis today, also Guru Maharaj for the wonderful lecture, which I found time to attend today.
Malini has a question. Book distribution is huge at Raman Reti especially. And it's good at Brahmanda Ghat also. But Raman Reti is a big sandbox. And people come there just to have fun and roll in the sand. And they have picnics and they sit around. And so they're sitting ducks. So we're really going there to distribute books. I would say concentrate on distributing books there. We'll have a kirtan. There's an area under shelter where we're also in front of the deities where we can have a rip-roaring kirtan. But feel free to span out and meet everybody there and distribute books because they're in a good mood. They're not going anywhere. They're just there. So that's the... Did that answer your question? Okay. And then Brahmanda Ghat, we can do more hearing and chanting together. And we'll be right there next to the Jamuna. Vanchakabdurusha kripasanave vachapatitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo nantagadi vaishnaviki jai go premanande haribol.